Today I'm sharing a neat garment that could work for all your seasons, because depending on the type of fabric you choose, it can be for summer or through to winter. There's so many necklines in this one pattern, 6 of them, so there's so many options to have a lot of fun. Plus it's really easy to sew. Look at this boat neck with an overlap shoulder and buttons, so cute. Stay tuned. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a neat garment for you. The pattern has so many options. There are a lot of garments you can make with this one pattern that are going to look completely different. The pattern is a Terra Tunic from Love Notions. You know, Love Notions has a featured pattern every Friday that is only $5, and this is the turn for this pattern this Friday. That means that it's a great price. I will leave you my affiliate link down below if you like the pattern while you see this video and you like to get it for yourself. $5 is a great value for all the features that you have here and all the garments that you could make. The necklines are all super cute. This pattern has 6 neckline options. That is quite a lot because you can get so many different looks, and also for different types of weather. If you want it for hotter weather, you can use the scoop neckline, the V neckline. And then for weather in between, you have a V neckline with a hood. You also have a boat neckline, which is the one I'm showing you today. Last year I made this asymmetrical neckline that I've got on here with this Terra Tunic. And there's also a funnel neck. So many. And on the sleeve, you can choose between short sleeve like this one, 3/4, long. So you're covered for all the seasons you want. It is a tunic, so it's meant to hit below your bottom. It's longish, and on the side you have some vents. Originally the front is supposed to be about 1 inch shorter than the back. That's how it's designed. That is always something that you can adjust if that's not what you like. On the front, as an option, you can also put 2 little pockets on each side, and they will be around your thigh area sort of thing. But I've never sewn the pockets on my Terra Tunics, and actually mine are a little bit shorter because it's hard for me to wear tunics. For me, it's either a top or a dress. So if you want to see all about how to sew this asymmetrical neckline, like you can see right here, you can head over to the video I made last year in October. It's very detailed. There's a full pattern review there, along with a tutorial on how to sew this neckline, which is really nice. You can put buttons there as decoration, but because my jersey has embroidery on it, it's already decorated enough. I didn't really think the buttons were going to add anything extra, but it is a really nice neckline and I've always enjoyed wearing it. So nice. But as a summary, of course this is for knit fabrics. You cannot use woven fabrics for this, and you don't need the fabrics to stretch that much, only 25% horizontally. So it's not a design that needs that much stretch because it's not a fitted design. The sizing, because it is an older pattern, goes up to 3X. It's not a pattern that has been updated yet, but you know that all the older patterns are going through an update process where if they don't have the full bust option like this one, it does get added on, and then 4X and 5X added. If you do purchase the pattern now, when the pattern gets updated, you don't have to pay for the pattern again. You can just download it again from your account and have the pattern with more sizes and the full bust. So at this point, it'll go up to a hip of 51.5 inches and a bust of 49.5 inches. That's the current sizing here. And as for the feet, it's not super tight. At the bust, you have about 0, maybe 1 inch of positive ease. But that's okay, your fabric stretches, and then at the waist you have more space, about 6 inches at the waist. It's sort of like a straight fit, and then at the hip there's about 1 inch of positive ease, but it's actually more because you have longish vents on the side, which is going to give you a bit more space at the hips anyway. Last year when I made this one, I cut out a size extra large and I made it 1 inch shorter all around, so it's 1 inch shorter in the front and the back. This time I've chosen a sweater knit. The sweater knit is super lightweight, super soft, amazing, but the horizontal stripes always get me, and I just did not want to make them vertical either because I was going to lose most of the stretch if I turn the fabric around. Sometimes you can, but sometimes I think it's better not to. It just depends. You just have to check every fabric on a 1x1 case, and in this case I thought making the stripes vertical by flipping the knit the other way around was not going to be the best choice. So I decided to fold my fabric on the bias. So my stripes are going to be diagonal. That means that to get it to fit into my fabric, I actually needed to make this tunic a lot shorter and just make it a top, and I was willing to compromise. I still like tops anyway. I think tunics aren't really that much for me, and making length adjustments is totally feasible. There's a waistline marked on the pattern and a hip line. just a bit below the waistline, I took away 2 inches there, so I have an overlap of paper there. And then I took away 1 inch at the hem. It is pretty straight here at the hem, so it's not going to affect much. The slit is going to be a little bit shorter, and this is the back. Originally the back had a longer hem than the front, but I want them to be the same, so I took off 2 inches off the back and also overlapped here, so that these slits there on the side are going to be the same and the front isn't going to be shorter than the back. That way I can get my new Terra onto this special fabric that I wanted to cut on the bias. Now when you cut knits on the bias, it's not the same as a woven cutting on the bias. It's not that you're going to have more stretch or a nicer drape. It's nothing like that, because it's just a knit. It's not a woven, it's not the same. But I wanted the visual of having these diagonal stripes. Let's see how I cut this out. And I'm focusing on this beautiful boat neckline that has an overlap at the shoulders with buttons. Let's see how it's done. Short and sweet, shorter than other sewing tutorials, because it is actually quite simple. So let's see. I'm using a sweater knit to make my Terra Tunic. The stripes on this sweater knit are horizontal, of course, so that is the direction of the fabric right there. I don't want horizontal stripes. I don't want to fold the fabric to make it vertical either, because I find that if I switch it around, the stretch would be much less. I am going to cut it on the bias instead. So I took one of the corners of the fabric and just folded it here like that, so that it's on the bias. So the stripes now are going at 45 degrees, and I'm gonna cut my front piece here on the fold. From the other corner that's way over there, I'm gonna do the same and cut my back piece. And then with all the rest I have left over, I'll probably cut the sleeves horizontally. I don't mind horizontal sleeves. I'm not gonna worry too much about matching any stripes on the sides, because they aren't really defined stripes, as you can see. So when you do the boat neck, you have a separate pattern piece that you cut out and you join at this dotted line there. And you can see that I've folded away the regular neckline here that would have a scoop or a V neckline. The V neckline goes down lower like that. And for the other necklines, you also find different little pieces that you can you can tape onto this dotted line. And now I have my boat neck piece right there, which is totally different because the back is way longer here. It overlaps. So it's totally different, and I think it's genius to just change the top part of the pattern instead of having totally separate pattern pieces. This is knit interfacing, and it's what I'm going to use to fuse onto the facings. So this is a type that has some stretch, as you can see. Perfect for these types of projects. Gives that facing some structure while allowing it to stretch. So that's good. I hope you have some of that. So these are the 2 facing pieces, and I'm going to block fuse the fabric first. I have enough here to get this piece. This is the back facing, it's larger and wider. That'll fit perfect. And I have enough for the front facing as well. I'm going to cut the amount of interfacing I need for both of these pieces, fuse it on, and then cut my facings. Now that my knit fabric is interfaced, I can just cut these out. You've seen me do this in wovens, and it's the same thing I do for knits. I rarely ever use facings for knit projects, but this pattern has it as an option, so I might as well. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I think for the boat neck finish and that overlap at the shoulders, this finish is actually the perfect finish for it. So here I have the exact piece I need. Nothing has shrinked or changed shape, and it's very accurate. I'm always happy to block fuse, whether it's for wovens or for knits. And this is how that facing is going to look. A bit more structured. My fabric is actually quite light, the sweater knit. Here are both the facing pieces. The front is smaller than the back, meaning the back is just wider. And we need to serge the edge here to finish that edge off. You could skip it. This type of fabric doesn't fray, but I think it's just going to look neater inside if the edge is finished. And then differently to what you do in other facings, where you would usually put these right sides together at the shoulder seams and sew that, it will be totally different with this Terra Tunic. So I'll just go ahead and serge, and then I'll see you at the sewing machine to put this onto the front neckline, this onto the back neckline separately. This is my back pattern piece. I have the fabric right sides up and I put a pin to mark the center back, the same as I've done with this facing. The facing has been serged on the edge just to clean it up. And now we put the facing right sides together with the neckline. I'm just going to go ahead and pin this, and I will do the exact same thing for the front. I've got both my facings pinned onto the necklines. This smaller one is the front, this wider one is the back. And now the process is the same for both. What we do now is sew across the shoulder there, and then pick up the neckline and then sew the shoulder, all with 3/8 seam allowance for both of them. And that will leave you a clean corner right there. After sewing this little bit with my machine, I'm actually going to serge these two together to actually catch this area that doesn't have a facing, so that that area can be finished inside. Before I sew these, I want to show you something extra that I've just done. I just remembered, and this is the back shoulder. I've used a little bit of interfacing there. You know, this fabric is really floppy. It is a sweater knit, and these sweater knits are notorious for stretching out and sagging, and I don't want sagging shoulders. I want my sleeves to fit properly, so fusing that on made it really stable. So I've got that on both of the shoulder seams just for the back piece right there. So this is 3/8 of an inch seam allowance here. I don't like to pivot, so when I finish this shoulder, I'll sew right up to the edge and then start again on the neckline. See how I like to have my seams intersect there. Now on both these shoulders, I'm just going to serge that just to finish this edge right here, and I'll do that on these two shoulder seams, and then I'll repeat the exact same process for the front. After sewing this, I'm going to snip, and it's the same for both necklines. Now this facing will go to the inside, and so I'm just going to fold this intersection of seams onto themselves like that, and then just flip it, and that's how the edge of the neckline is going to look. It's really neat. And then I'm going to do the same over here on this corner. Just fold it and flip it. Now I want to understitch the facing. I won't be able to do it all the way to the corner, but as far as I can go. And I'm going to be sewing the seam allowance underneath the facing right there. So push the seam allowance towards the facing, and then I'm just going to stitch on the edge right there. Okay, that brings the facing to the inside. I'm going to repeat for the other neckline, all the same, and then I'm going to go to the iron and press this nice and flat. I'm going to do a quick hand baste to fix this facing down before I top stitch. I've given it a good press, and I've already hand basted this facing down so I don't have to worry about pins. When I do this type of thing, I bring it to my table, keep it flat at all times, and I hand baste it while it's flat on the table. I don't want to pick it up and make that facing shift. And I do this for wovens and for knits. Look, you can see that I'm taking huge stitches here. This is not a specialized technique, and you can see how it's staying flat and not moving. So if you wanted to know the secret to flat facings, it's block fusing and then hand basting it on the flat. I never trust the pins. That's definitely going to give you a shifted, sort of crooked looking facing, in my opinion. Okay, and now I can top stitch from this side. I will have the basting stitch sort of telling me where I can sew. To top stitch, I'm going to use a twin needle just because it looks nice. Actually, I'll guide my basting stitch along the middle of this presser foot, and I'll be good like that. I think it'll help me keep it neater that way. You can see that middle of the presser foot is right in the middle of all these basting stitches. And I'll repeat on the other neckline. You can see that I'm catching right on the edge there, so everything's really nice and neat. And that's how the neckline is going to finish there. So I'm just gonna pin this in place right here just to keep it without moving. So here on the armhole, we're gonna have a bit of an overlap going on, and we need to baste that in place so we can put on our sleeve afterwards. Looking at this neckline properly now, this is the front. The back comes behind it and overlaps. You can see the front overlaps over the back. I'm going to hand baste this and just fix it in place because I want to keep sewing my garment. And the last thing I'm going to do when I'm almost done is put buttons here. A button there and a button there, and that's going to close that area right there. I think you could fit 3 if you wanted, especially with the size buttons I have, but I don't have 6 buttons, I only have 4, so I'm going to use 2. But I want to keep this like that fixed. I don't want it to move around. Over here where we have this overlap, I am going to baste it down so it acts like one piece. And then this area, I'm just going to hand baste it so it can be removed later. I've hand basted that down so it doesn't go anywhere. And this is part of the armhole that's got a few layers there. And I'm just going to sew this on the edge. And then I have a normal armhole to put the sleeve in. You can do that on the flat or do it on the round. But from now on, now that the neckline's done, I'm just going to put the sleeves, do my side seams, finish my vents, and then the very last thing I'm going to do is just come and sew these buttons on through all the layers without doing buttonholes, and then that's the end. I've put my sleeve in, I've sewn in my 2 buttons. I would have loved to have 3, but 2 is enough. They are medium sized, make sure they make sense there. And because this button doesn't reach the end, I didn't want this to be sticking up. I just did a bit of hand tacking there to keep it in place, and because this type of knit is so fluffy, you'll never see it, and that's gonna just stay put like that without flopping. And I've got the other side. On the inside you have that overlap there on the shoulders. It's all very neat, and it's a really lovely neckline. I really enjoyed sewing. This is my new Terra Tunic. I absolutely love it. I love this sweater knit. I had been saving it for something nice. It's so soft, it feels amazingly buttery soft on the skin, and it's lighter weight. I really like it. I'm going to try and talk over the parrots, you know. There is my facing, and I've top stitched it down using a twin needle, and maybe you can see it there. On the back you can see it more. It's very neat. I love how that turned out. Interfacing it, you know, if you do the same things you do with a woven on a facing with a knit, it's going to turn out beautiful anyway. The understitching was an extra step that I've done. I think I didn't see that in the instructions, but it's something that I do anyway. And I have my buttons there that overlap. I wish I'd had 1 more. I think 3 would have been good. And I tucked this down there so it doesn't flop open, because there is a space between there and my first button. I have a regular hem that has been twin needled, folded up by 1 inch. And here on these little vents, you know I am addicted to mitered corners. I just cannot not make them. So I have mitered corners inside. I will leave you a link of a video that shows it in really nice detail. And you can put mitered corners onto any slit that you see, whether they have it or not. And it turned out very nicely. I have a twin needle hem as well at the bottom. And it's a really nice simple top. I think the neckline just makes it that extra special. And I think it looks really classy in my opinion. Even though this neckline is a little higher than what I usually wear, I think it's really nice. And I would definitely make this again for sure. Let's see how it looks. This is my second Terra Tunic. This one has long sleeves. It's a sweater knit. I've cut it on the bias. That's why you see the stripes are diagonal. And this is actually not a tunic. I've reduced a lot of the length of it just to make it be a top, because that's what I wanted. Easy to do. I've kept the slits on the side. And I have the boat neck that has an overlap here with buttons that I'll show you up closer. These are just red linen pants with red shoes. Love this outfit, super casual, but I feel put together, totally my style. So between the waist and the hips, around there, above the slit, I removed 2.5 inches, and then I took off another inch at the hem, which makes this 3.5 inches shorter than the original tunic length. I've also evened out on the side so that the hem is the same. I didn't want the front to be shorter than the back. Makes my slit a little smaller, but that's fine. I've got mitered corners there that I always love doing. Long sleeves. This is the original length of the sleeve, and it's perfect for me. So if you're a little bit shorter, the sleeve might run a little long. Just check. This is a boat neckline, which is a little higher than what I usually wear, but it's not those wide type of boat necks where you can see the strap of your bra. I think it's a really nice neckline. The facing is lying super flat. I've got it top stitched there. I love the finish, and I'll show you this little bit up closer. You can see this up closer where the back is longer and the front overlaps over it. So in this case there's a little bit of bulk here, and 2 buttons there. There are no buttonholes. There's space enough for 3 buttons if it's the correct size, but I only had 2. Same as here on the other side. There are so many more neckline options with the Terra Tunic. There's also little welt pockets that you can sew on there as an option. And the other one I have has an asymmetric neckline. I've made 2 of the versions in this pattern and I'm really happy with this top. It's really nice. The sweat on it is so soft. Of course, if you want to make this for summer, you can choose a short sleeve as well. I'm also going to show you a bit of footage about this one so you can see it too. If you haven't seen last year's video, maybe you can catch a bit of the footage with it on right now as well. I think this is a good length for a tunic for me, so it's not super long, it's not short like a shirt either. Perfect to wear with the only skinny jeans I have. So it's a little bit long at the back, it covers the bottom but it's not excessively long. It's short sleeves. So the tunic originally would have been about 1 inch longer. I thought it was going to be too long when I measured it, but now that I've worn it and hemmed it, I think it's right. It's really perfect for a tunic this length. I would not want to have a tunic hitting like mid-thigh or anything, because then for me it just looks like a really short dress. But this is good. So you've got side slits there, the front is shorter than the back and covers the bottom there. The top fits really good. It fits my shoulders amazing. The sleeves are good. You know, you have long and all those other lengths, but I just did mine short sleeves. I think it's gonna be more wearable like that for me. My fabric is full of little holes because it's embroidered, but I don't think I need a cami underneath. I don't think I'm showing my skin that much. And my favorite feature is this beautiful asymmetric neckline. Super pretty. Looks like that at the back too. I'm very happy with this. I love this neckline so much. I'm sure you're gonna like this pattern. It's got so many options. If you like wearing tunics with leggings, then this is perfect for you. If you want to make it a top, just make it shorter like I have, totally possible. And then, you know, you can make it for winter, for summer. Use light fabrics, use heavier fabrics. So many options here. Don't forget that the Terra Tunic is only $5 today. It's a great price, great value. And I will leave you my affiliate link down below, as well as the previous video I made about this one last year down in the description box. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your Friday with me. I will see you again very soon with more sewing, and have a lovely weekend. Bye.